What is up, guys? In today's video, we're going to be reacting to a video from Top 5 Gaming talking about Fortnitemares, kind of how different Fortnitemares in the past worked and this year's Fortnitemares. A lot of people were unhappy with this year's Fortnitemares, but I actually think it was pretty solid. We'll talk about that in the video. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of this year's Fortnitemares and which one was your favorite if you had played previous Fortnitemares seasons or updates.
Couple years, Fortnitemares went from being the most loved event of the year to now being in trouble.
I agree with that, though. Of the holiday events, Fortnitemares is my favorite, and it's the one I'm most nostalgic for because I started playing around the time of the first Fortnitemares. Like, I started playing Fortnite the second day it came out, but I didn't really start playing it, like, a lot until October or November. It was mainly a game I started playing, like, waiting for Call of Duty World War II to come out around that time, so yeah. The first Fortnitemares of 2017 is one that I'm, like, super nostalgic about.
But to see why, we have to return to what made it so good to begin with, and that was all the way back in 2017.
And when I started playing again was a Fortnitemares update. Like, when I quit in Chapter 2 and then came back towards the end of it, it was a Fortnitemares update that kind of made me want to, like, get back into the game because, I don't know, just I do kind of associate Halloween time with Fortnite at this point.
Just weeks into the phenomenon that would become Fortnite, and Epic was already preparing an update to blow away new players, a Halloween event officially named Fortnitemares. Moving away from the seasonal store, they introduced a brand new feature.
This is how the shop looked, bro. Simple.
The item shop, bringing Skull and Gold Trooper to our lockers for the very first time. It was instantly a massive hit, with players all over the world swarming to try the new pumpkin launcher or scythe pickaxe. And while we look back on this event and realize just how simple it was, this was also 2017, a fresh start with plenty of room for improvement. Fortnitemares was about to go on an insane journey, with Epic already planning an incredible future of live events.
So 2017 was very basic. It was just the pumpkin launcher, the Skull and Gold Trooper, the scythe pickaxe, and then there was some Halloween decorations on the map. Very bland and simple. If that happened today, people would riot. There was more decorations on the map at that point in time than there is this year, but again, our standards were so low because the game was so new and basic, and they hadn't really set those expectations really high for holiday events. But even just that simplicity of it, they nailed, like, the Halloween vibe much better than this year did. But this year did have more content and obviously iconic collabs like Michael Myers and Jack Skellington.
And that kicked off in 2018. The year Fortnite would take over the world, and part of that was thanks to Kevin the Cube. After he saw him turn into a floating island, Epic decided that this year's Fortnitemares would be different. It would be themed around the story with a range of Cube-inspired features. An original character, Deadfire, took center stage in his quest to destroy zombies. Yes, we could do exactly that, as Cube monsters invaded the Battle Royale island,
they were
giving
everywhere.
us amazing loot for eliminations. This was the first time we had waves of enemies on the map, and Epic didn't stop there. They even turned Team Rumble into Team Terror with Halloween decorations and zombies to fight off. The island was also full of details, with the battle bus crashing in the trailer only to appear in game. But we weren't focused on that. In the time between 2018 and the previous Fortnitemares, Skull Trooper had become something of an icon. Fortnite was—
Wait, 1 second. Okay.
2018 and the previous Fortnitemares, Skull Trooper had become something of an icon. Fortnite was now the biggest game in the world, and anyone who didn't pick him up a year before was desperate to get their hands on him. But the original owners refused to allow this to happen, claiming
this was one of, like, the first ever rare skins that they brought back, and it, like, pissed a lot of people off.
they had the rarest skin fair and square. So Epic made a compromise, bringing Skull Trooper back, but with an exclusive variant for anyone who already owned him. It was the first time they'd ever done something like this, but we quickly became distracted by something much more important: a live event. While Fortnitemares was still happening, Kevin the Cube's island had become more and more unstable, leading us to the infamous butterfly that shocked the world.
This is my favorite
Looking
event.
back, you probably forgot this is in the middle of Halloween. That's how huge it was.
They changed Loot Lake in real time with this event. So it was Loot Lake was one thing, and then you kind of went into this was the vault, I guess. You go into this area, and then when you came out, Loot Lake was transformed into like Leaky Lake, I think.
It shocked the world. Looking back, you probably forgot this is in the middle of Halloween.
I really like
That's how
that.
huge it was. And Fortnitemares just kept getting better.
So with 2018 Fortnitemares, it definitely, again, nailed the Halloween vibes more than this one did, for sure. And I think this is where it comes down to perspective. Because if you just care about, like, the game feeling, you know, like Halloween at that point in time, 2018 might be the best for you. But as far as a gameplay perspective goes, I think they went overboard with it. The zombies were very annoying. Everybody was complaining constantly about it at that point in time, waiting for them to be removed. They would just follow you around the map, attacking you. If you think the dinosaurs are annoying now, the zombies were on another level. Like, it was so annoying. And then also, you know, when the map is foggy sometimes, if I remember correctly, it was foggy like that constantly for that season, or like that, you know, the Fortnitemares event, which I personally didn't like. And then also they had this crossbow item in the game that was only good against zombies, and it was just like trash loot to find. And that's where, like I said, it comes down to perspective. I just want the game to be good. If the game is good and they have some Halloween stuff, that's fine. But like me personally, I don't want the Halloween stuff to be so excessive that it like completely derails the game like it did in 2018. I think they also added glider redeploy for the first time during 2018 Fortnitemares. And it wasn't an item or anything. It was just everybody had the ability to redeploy all the time, which was pretty nice. But there was people that hated on it because they felt like you could just build constantly super high and not worry about the consequences.
We went from small changes to an entirely new mode. At this point in 2019, we were...
So, Chapter 2 Season 1 had just started. Chapter 2 Season 1 started October 15th, so like midway through October. This Fortnitemares wasn't that big of a deal from my memory. But we had just gotten a brand new map, and it was like crazy.
Enjoying the fresh map of Chapter 2, and it was incredible. But things took a sudden turn as changes happened all over the island for Halloween. They reopened the Hey Boo store at Retail Row, furniture started to float and be possessed, and now Fortnite had turned into a horror game thanks to jump scare zombies.
The goat.
Oh my god, bro! Let's get the crap out of me.
Oh my god, Sykkuno, you can be a...
Are you okay? I still haven't found a gun.
So in 2018, the zombies would spawn all over the place en masse. This was just like occasionally a zombie would jump out of something and attack you. It was not a big deal. It was mostly just a jump scare like they're showing with the clips.
Okay, this is abuse!
I think this here is perfect.
At the same time, Ghoul Trooper finally returned after 2 years of waiting, also getting an OG variant for anyone who bought her in the first event. Now that was cool, but she wasn't the only familiar face this year. More importantly, the Storm King LTM was introduced. This mode brought a fan favorite Save the World villain to Battle Royale, and it was one of the first boss fights we had ever had. People loved this mode. At times, it was way too difficult, so they had to nerf.
If I remember correctly, a lot of people got mad about this because I think this is one of the final bosses in Save the World. And like Save the World players felt that like BR players didn't like earn the right to experience this, if I remember correctly. I remember seeing like some posts about that, but I think 2019 Fortnitemares was perfect. They killed the like theme and vibes of the holiday. You know, they did a good job there, and they didn't really ruin the gameplay that much. Even somebody who's like only concerned about gameplay. Even that, I didn't mind the jump scare zombies. I thought that was like a great time to be playing the game. And people grew to hate Chapter 2 Season 1 because of how long it was. But the start of it was just amazing. It was the first time we had ever had an entirely new map. And it was a lot of fun and like a great time to be playing the game. It's just that season went on until like the end of February of the next year. So it like got hate because of that.
But the fact they designed this whole thing just for a short Halloween event was amazing. There were also some incredible secrets at this time, like the release of the Pump It Up emote, which included an insane reference, the Dancing Pumpkin Man. He originally gave them permission to do it until things got ugly in court. Epic had bigger problems to worry about, like how they would continue to make this event better than the last. At this point, we're heading into 2020, which was a tough year for everyone.
I didn't play this one.
But it also meant that
I quit like July 2020 and came back October 2021.
More people were at home playing Fortnite than ever. This Halloween event needed to be massive, so Epic took us by complete surprise. As we loaded in, most of us were shocked to see the return of Midas. The hype for this guy was so ridiculous that they had to bring him back. We were so excited when we learned about this, and he wasn't there for decoration. The entire holiday was themed around him. Say hello to Midas's Revenge, and if you played back then, you probably had one of two reactions. Either you're thrilled to hear about this again, or you're still reeling with anger about it. That's how divisive this update was. Midas's Revenge was an LTM that turned Battle Royale into Infected mode. Once he got eliminated, you would turn into a shadow and could take out the remaining players. An incredible idea on paper. Who wouldn't want to try this out? It had everything you'd want for a Halloween mode, with updated POIs, new items, and a totally different vibe to the map. Some would argue this was the peak of Fortnitemares, where Epic put the most effort into it we have ever seen. The update was huge, giving us a Shadow Midas drum gun and new mobility items like the Witch Broom. We even got candy buckets for the first time. They seriously went all out, except there was one problem. This wasn't actually an LTM, it was the game. You had no choice if you wanted to play this or not. Battle Royale was taken over for 2 weeks, causing millions to be furious. Despite that, Fortnitemares 2020 was a staple in the journey of Halloween events, and until now, Epic have been adding more and more every year. This update had so much to enjoy with tons of iconic skins like the Good Doctor, a reference to Dr. Jekyll and Mr.
So I feel like this one is going to be either the best or worst Fortnitemares, depending on your perspective, like I talked about earlier. If you don't care about like the purity of the gameplay and you like the chaos and the craziness, basically anytime anyone got eliminated, they would just come back as a zombie, and that made the game mode super chaotic and frustrating if you were a more serious player. But at the same time, it definitely, you know, was very Halloween-y. I could see it going either way. I could see myself liking this or disliking it. With holiday events, I'm more accepting of like crazy stuff at times because it's kind of known going in that it's going to just be 2 weeks, you know, or whatever. It's very temporary. If they made it an LTM like he had talked about, then everyone would have loved it. But the fact that they forced it onto people made some players upset, I guess. I was playing Warzone at the time, and they had something similar where people would come back as zombies, and I actually really liked the mode. And I feel like one thing people forget is this was Chapter 2 Season 4. This was the Marvel season, and everyone just looks back at this as a collab season, but they actually had an incredible... They had a Halloween event that they clearly put a lot of work into, and it's either going to be like one of your favorites or least favorites, depending on your perspective on the game.
Their hide.
So I think
there was
that's
also
good.
the very first transformation emote, followed by the Baba Yaga, who is based on a Russian folktale. But don't forget, this was 2020, the year that crossovers began to dominate Fortnite. Not only were they sneaking into battle passes and releasing every week, now they were invading Fortnitemares with Ghostbusters.
I like these skins. I've never seen Ghostbusters, but I like when they do collab skins. It's just like Fortnite defaults wearing those outfits.
Once again, sounds amazing on paper until they actually drop default skins with jumpsuits on. Little did we know this
it feels
trend
more
would become
Fortnite-y.
even worse in the years to come, as the downfall of Fortnitemares was already starting to begin. We got glimpses of problems in 2020, and the cracks kept expanding with Chapter 2's final event, The Wrath of the Cube Queen. At the beginning, this sounded incredible, like it could be the best one yet.
I played this, but I started playing again late October 2021, so I don't really have much perspective of like what this changed because I just had come back to the game after not playing for like a year and a half. So yeah.
The Chapter 3 villain had arrived on the map, bringing with her a new POI, the Convergence, a huge pyramid made of cubes that would ultimately serve as the location of a live event. But before we got there, plenty of content was added to distract us, like the reveal of Caretakers, a huge enemy that would roam the map and terrify players. These were insanely cool to fight against, and a breath of fresh air after dealing with regular zombies for all these years. We also got a new melee weapon called the Sideways Scythe, letting you wipe out waves of cube monsters in just a few slashes. Not to mention, it was a great mobility item. It definitely served as inspiration for the Shockwave Hammer. That doesn't mean it was without problems though.
I don't remember
all
using
the
this.
Sideways items had to be upgraded with cube parts, which made them an insane grind every time. And while the Caretakers were a great addition, they could ruin your entire match, dragging you into Sideways and blocking you from building. If you weren't prepared to fight them, congrats, you just died for no reason.
I don't remember interacting with the Sideways at all. I remember I remember leaving an area because it was there, but I don't remember like having my game griefed by it, I guess.
And while the Resident Evil collab was exactly what we hoped for, other cosmetics felt out of place. Ariana Grande returned with an exclusive Halloween skin, Cause dropped a skeleton outfit, while superhero skins were turned into zombies.
I just bought one of these.
A comeback we should have been excited for was Midas. Yeah, Shadow
I have
Midas
this too.
was finally an unlockable skin, which was great, but at the same time, he was a year old by now. In reality, this felt like a successor to 2018, tying the Cube storyline into Halloween once again, and this time doing it to hype up a live event. But there was a problem with this. It kind of ruined the whole point. Everything that was going on, like the Convergence POI, the Cube Queen's return, it would have happened anyway. They were crucial to the Chapter 2 finale, and it felt
So I don't agree with that. Basically saying, from my understanding of what he just said, is that this event doesn't get as much... He doesn't give it as much credit because it wasn't just Halloween themed. It just like the end of Chapter 2 was kind of like dark and spooky-ish, and then that's what they used for Fortnitemares. I don't see that as a knock against it, personally. Like, I think that's a good thing. Like, if you can tie in the end of the Chapter 2, the Fortnitemares event. I don't know. I don't see that as a problem at all.
felt like Epic just slapped the Fortnitemares logo on it so they could hit two birds with one stone. Now, don't get me wrong,
Which we'll get into in Chapter 3, because I think Chapter 3 did a similar thing, and it worked.
was pretty good, but sadly it'd be the last time we could compliment Epic. They changed the game so much previously that they were afraid of touching Battle Royale again, and so as the event continued to decline, we were about to get the single worst Halloween in history. Chapter 3 had one shot at doing it right, and man, did it miss the mark. The entire thing was promoted with this image showing a DJ at the reality tree. That felt already weird, but it gave us the impression that some kind of special concert would happen here. Well, it's only for us to drop at DJ Leica, and nothing really changed. Their performance
So a lot of people didn't like this because they feel like they got clickbaited by there not being a concert here. I'm not too concerned about the Fortnite concert, so I don't really knock it for that. But again, I feel like the end of Chapter 3, I personally didn't enjoy Chapter 3 Season 4. It was probably my least favorite season of that chapter. But the end of Chapter 3 with the Chrome consuming the map and destroying the map and like destroying everything it touched, I feel like fits in great with like the Fortnitemares vibe and like the vibe of the map being like Halloweeny. I think they did a really good job with. I was just kind of burnt out on the map to an extent. We knew Chapter 3 was ending, and I feel like that is kind of also makes that burnout more. And the goo gun being in the game was really annoying to me. I really despised the goo gun. The chrome weapons were cool though. And then Grim Gables as a POI was a good like Halloween POI, I thought. But these DJ Claw things, I think they were removed the entire season, and people complained about that. I didn't really mind that because I wasn't going to use them anyways.
Forming to a weird crowd of ghosts, and even if you wanted to enjoy the music, you'd just be eliminated. On the bright side, anyone who danced here would enter a ritual that gave them the Howler Claws, a brand new weapon that sounded
this was Grim
amazing,
Gables.
only for it to be totally underwhelming. And even if you did like it,
the boss there was like crazy too, wasn't he?
Them to be insanely broken, forcing Epic to remove them halfway through the event. This left the DJ POI to be completely useless, and no one ever thought about it again. But luckily, there was a useful Halloween location on the other side
I think as far as Halloween map changes go, from the seasons I've played, this was the best.
of the map. This is Grim Gables, an abandoned house that was full of secrets. In the graveyard, you could read the tombstones and get ridiculous responses like how Meowscles is almost out of lives, or someone died who didn't thank the bus driver. In the house itself, there was a secret boss that could only be found under the floorboards. Drop into this hidden mine shaft and summon the Inquisitor. It wasn't exactly the coolest boss, but you could find a totally different enemy in this shack on the other side of the island. Upon entering, you'll be chased out by Willow, who was determined to
I think this lady was really hard to kill.
kill you with her axe. It was terrifying. Speaking of shacks, you could even find the cabin from Evil Dead. This was packed full of Easter eggs, from the cellar to the talking moose in the wall. As you can see, they had something going for this event, so much potential, but all of the problems eventually dragged Fortnite.
That's true. I think they did a good job for Fortnitemares for that season. Like I said, it wasn't my favorite season. I didn't like the Goo Gun being in the game. I think Boogie Bombs were still in the game, and like Goo Gun Boogie Bomb was like it was just annoying to deal with in Zero Build. Also, my game was running really poorly around this time, I think, and that definitely contributed to me not liking the game as much. I think I bought a new PC this season because my game was not like running well. But as far as like being a Fortnitemares event, I think they did a good job. The DJ thing getting taken out, people hate on it for it, but it is what it is. I would rather them take an item out if it's bugged like that than just leave it in and let it like terrorize the map.
Fortnitemares down. But sure, I'd love to sit here and tell you that Ash Williams was the main collab, but sadly the attention went somewhere else. On day one of Fortnitemares, they released a crossover in the item shop. Was it Jason Voorhees, maybe Freddy Krueger? Who was the first Halloween skin to grace our lockers? Yeah, it was Summer from Rick and Morty. And if you went to the returning Horde Rush LTM, the main image was taken over by
That's true, the collabs that season were not it.
this guy in the corner. Of course, it's Pickle Rick, the free reward for 2022's challenges. It made absolutely no sense why he'd be the face of Horde Rush. As for the Inquisitor, I showed how cool he was, but this wasn't even worth visiting. Grim Gables was full of fog, jump scare zombies, possessed furniture.
That's cap, bro. Shifty Shafts and then Grim Gables was still one of my favorite places to land.
So nobody picked this as a drop spot. And even if you eliminated the boss, the only reward you got was a suppressed SMG that claimed to be mythic, but had the exact
Bro!
the boss, the only reward you got was a suppressed SMG that
The sidearm pistol. That's crazy.
claimed to be mythic.
That
but
thing
had
was
the
so
exact
underrated.
Same stats as the legendary. They also picked the worst time to drop a Fortnitemares, in the middle of the season where Chrome had taken over the entire map.
I feel like that contributes. Like the entire map being destroyed and consumed by like some substance from like the last reality, I feel like fits Fortnitemares very well.
Wires were already hideous from the silver colors, so there was no room for Halloween decorations.
Was there not decorations on that map? I don't remember. Okay, that's interesting. That's gonna go against something I'm gonna say with this season.
The vibe of this event just felt off, and the decorations they did use were called pathetic, like a single pumpkin outside a house. They even changed the logo, which everyone hated. Pretty much agreed that this is the lowest point the event has ever seen, and we are desperate for a comeback in 2023. So did this year live up to expectations? On one hand, Halloween just doesn't feel the same as it used to. 2023 also had no decorations around the map, and they even removed jump scare zombies. some would argue that's a good thing, as Epic broke all tradition and wanted to distance themselves from the disaster of 2022. But
So one of the reasons why I think there's less decorations on the map now, and this is why I was going to say last year's kind of goes against what I'm about to say, is that this map, the Chapter 4 map, has barely any residential areas on the map at all. Like, there's like, what? I can't remember the name of the POI that I land at a lot on the right side of the map. The one that starts with an S. Slappy Shores. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. But Slappy Shores is one of the few, like, residential areas on the map. And then, like, Frenzy, I guess. But Frenzy has, like, changes to it with, like, the time machine coming in. Maybe you could put some stuff at, like, some of the Japanese biome that came in at Chapter 4 Season 2. But this map just doesn't have very many residential areas. Whereas, like, if you look back at, like, Chapter 1 and 2, Retail, Pleasant, Salty was in both those maps. Those were all just, like, residential area POIs, so it kind of made sense for them to be decorated. I'm not really just trying to defend Epic. It probably just comes down to the fact that with yearly chapters, the Halloween event is always going to be at the end of the chapter, and so it probably doesn't, and, like, at the end of the map, so it probably doesn't make that much sense to put a lot of, you know, dev time into working on decorations for a map that's going to be on its way out, you know? We're getting off the Chapter 4 map November 3rd. So I think the yearly chapters are a big reason why Fortnitemares hasn't been as big the last 2 years, but I think this year's is still solid. I think having a vampire boss on the map is definitely, you know, Halloween-y. I think the stake shotgun, it's not my favorite shotgun, but it's definitely a viable, like, solid weapon that's Halloween themed because it's a vampire thing. The witch's broom is in, the candy's in. Like, they did an okay job. They just didn't knock it out of the park, and I get why they didn't, with it being the end of the chapter and the 2 years where people feel like they knocked it out of the park from, like, a Halloween event perspective are 2020 and 2018, and those were the 2 years that were also the most, like, controversial and most hated. Like, it really just comes down to your perspective on the game.
it also makes the game feel less Halloween themed than ever. In fact, the lobby background this year is just a time machine, with more focus on the build up to next season than the
Bro, I can't even focus on the lobby background because there's a million different game mode options in my face. That's a real Fortnitemares.
actual Fortnitemares event.
Trying to find the one game mode you want.
We also got the return of Rick and Morty before any Halloween skins actually dropped. At least
Oh, the collabs are godlike this year. This Michael Myers is, like, the first collab in a long time that I've actually cared about. And I know a lot of people are, like, excited for Jack Skellington as well. So, Alan Wake, not as much, but it's hard to stack up to the other two. I feel like Alan Wake got done dirty.
this time was to promote a new season though. Sadly, we got the least amount of changes ever to Battle Royale, with no new POIs, the same Horde Rush mode as last year,
Oh,
and
true.
items that we're used to seeing like the Witch Broom, except 10 times worse. They nerfed this thing, adding a cooldown that prevents you from shooting after landing. Okay, you hear all that and you think, wow, is this another disaster in a row? And yes, you could argue that Fortnitemares' decline is still happening, but I haven't brought up all the great features this year brought us. This time around, the collabs are starting to meet expectations.
True.
Back in the day,
Wait.
this year brought us. This time around,
Bro is rich. Look at those V-Bucks.
the collabs are starting to meet expectations. Back in the day, if you wanted to be a classic Halloween character, you'd have to play Save the World. But now we are getting a real deal.
I wish they would do a Jonesy like this. I wouldn't want this man. He kind of big. But, like, if they had Jonesy with this costume on, I would get that immediately.
If you wanted to be a classic Halloween character, you'd have to play Save the World. But now we are getting real deal slashers like Michael Myers. Not only is the set amazing, the pickaxe has an incredible
Huge W.
homage to Psycho. We also got Jack Skellington, a crossover that nobody expected but are absolutely loving. Finally, a classic Halloween movie in Fortnite. And of course, it wouldn't be the spooky season without a random collab though, so they dropped Alan Wake to promote the new game. It felt
I think this is a horror, like, suspense game, though. Like, I think this collab is good. It's like as fitting as Resident Evil is, I would say. It's just not as big of a deal as Resident Evil was, and it looks bad when compared to Michael Myers and Jack Skellington. You know what I mean?
a little forced, but it's better than Pickle Rick. Over in game, we have a new boss to face, Kato Thorne.
Like, it fits way better to me than Rick and Morty did.
who has activated a Revenant style and now flies around draining your soul. He's one of the toughest Fortnitemares bosses we've ever faced with over 2,000 health, but the rewards are amazing, especially the kinetic blade. And there's even a secret trick to defeating him. This is the new wood stake shotgun, a super long range shotty that fires wood instead of bullets. Of course, Kato's a vampire, so you'd expect wooden stakes to deal double damage, and surprisingly it does. To truly fix the problems from last year, they even brought back the original Fortnitemares logo, but is
Oh, it's saved, the logo. Okay. Why do we just make the video then? There's the logo and it's good. That's all that
it
matters.
enough to stop the decline? Personally, I think Epic did a good job this year, and I can't wait to see how Chapter 5 learns from all of these lessons. That was the right.
So yeah, I think this Fortnitemares, I get why people would not like feel like it didn't do as good as far as Halloween vibes go, but as far as gameplay goes, I think it was good and the season was incredible. And the end of Chapter 4 is the first time we've been to the end of the chapter and I wasn't incredibly burnt out. It was also only a year. Chapter 3 was a year, but I was burnt out on that map at the end of it and like that like situation with the game. Even Chapter 1, that was my favorite time to play the game and that was my favorite map, but a lot of players forget people were desperate for a new map towards the end of Chapter 1. I'm happy that we're going back next season and it'll be fun to play around with that stuff for a month, but people were bored of that map at the time. So I don't know. I think this Fortnitemares was fine. If I had to rank them, I think I would put 2019, this one, 2021, and then 2017, and then 2018, and I didn't play 2020. But the zombies being everywhere on the map, it was legitimately like not fun to play the game at that point in time for me. But again, like I said, it just comes down to perspective. And as long as we have yearly chapters, I would expect the Halloween event to be a bit lackluster because most dev time is probably going to be put into the new chapter, which is going to be launching the following season. But that is going to be it for this video. If you guys found this interesting, give it a like, subscribe if you like some more, and comment down below which Fortnitemares was your favorite. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.